Hello everyone, welcome back to episode 5 of No Bullshit. Today we'll be doing stuff with hit registration, so reading that information, doing stuff upon that information, getting registered. Yeah, I guess that's the word. So this is what we'll have by the end of the video. So yeah, I guess let's just get started. So before we do any of this, we actually have quite a big problem. So you would have noticed that where we're shooting doesn't actually match up where we're really aiming a lot of the time, which is a pretty big issue, especially if we want the player to feel as if the direction that they're aiming is where the actual bullet is going to go, so they can hit targets even if their mouse isn't directly over the enemy target. The reason that this is happening is actually for two reasons. The first reason is that with our mouse look, we're only casting to the floor, like the ground, and not to other objects as well. Meaning that if I'm aiming at a wall, the raycast is going to go through the wall, hitting the floor just slightly behind it, which makes our shooting direction slightly offset. The second reason is that our shot point currently only shoots in its forward direction, which, if you remember back to when we were adding our animations, we had to offset them to make them look right. But that means the shot point isn't the exact angle that we actually want it to be. Essentially, we want this shot point to always look at the mouse so that its forward direction will always be the mouse position and it's not like a local rotation. So it's actually a pretty easy fix. What we'll do is create a new script called shotPointFix, and we'll add that to our shotPoint object. And we're pretty much just going to do some more mouse tracking logic, and we're going to do that on late update in this case. This will just make our shot point always look at the mouse position. Once you've written that, assign the camera and layer mask to the ground layer and hit object, and it should be fixed as long as the objects in your scene have one of these two layers assigned to them, and then we should be able to accurately shoot. Again, for your reference, here's the full just tracking script if you want to copy it. Okay, so now let's do something with hit registration. I'm going to quickly make two enemies for me to test on, and you should make some yourself as well. It doesn't really matter what they are. Make sure you assign them the layer of hit object and then create a new tag called enemy, as this is how we will know whether or not we've hit them or not. Alright, so with our testing enemies in the scene, I'm going to start by making them take damage and being destroyed. So let's create a new C# script, call it enemy, and open it up. Inside of our script, we're going to want a health integer, and to create a new public void called takeDamage. Inside this method, we want to have a parameter called damage. Inside, we're simply going to take damage away from their health, then if their health is less than or equal to 0, fire a method called die. Below, we'll create the die method, and we'll simply do destroy game object. Now let's head over to our assault rifle script, and in here we'll want to go into our shoot method. We want to get a reference to our enemy script, and if hit, get the component of that enemy script. Then, if that is not equal to null, so what we hit did have this component, we want to call our public method of take damage and pass in the amount of damage taken. With that all done, let's head back and test it. Click on one of your enemies while shooting them, and you should see their health go down by 1 every time they're hit, and then once they've reached 0, they should just be destroyed from the scene. Alright, let's add a little bit of fluff to this now, and we'll add some blood effects when we hit them, just so that we can really show to the player that they have hit them. Again, I've already got one provided part of my asset pack, but if you go onto YouTube and then search up how to make a blood effect, there'll be loads of tutorials out there showing you how to do that, so go and do that now before carrying on. With my blood effect attached to my enemies now, I'm going to go back into my script, and we're going to set this up really similarly to how we did the gunshot sound effect and muzzle flash. So we're going to create a variable for our particle effect. Then if the blood effect is not equal to null, we'll play the blood effects. Bang, there we go. Now go back, press play, and you should see the blood effect happen each time you hit the enemy. Set up your variables though. Alright, so now sounds. I want to add some bullet hit sound effects and a death sound effect to my enemy. So I went onto YouTube and found a video which had the sound effects which I'm looking for, of loads of bullet hit sounds and a death sound which I'm going to use. I cut them all up into their own sounds, and that's what I'll be using. If you're using multiple sound effects like I am, we'll go about this a little differently. However, if you're only using one hit sound effect, basically just copy what we did before when we did our gunshot sound effect and you should be good to go. If you're doing multiple like me, let's add two variables, one being our audio source and the other being an array of audio clips. At the bottom we'll create a new method called play bullet hit sounds, and I'm going to add a null check for a safety catch. Then I'm going to create a new integer called index, get a random range between 0 and the length of our audio clip array, and then we'll play one shot from our array based on this index. Then just assign all your variables and it should just work. I had to turn down my gunshot sound effect as it was drowning out the sound of the hit sound effect, and this is what I have by the end of it. Cool, so we'll end here for today, and next week we're going to expand upon the death for the enemy a bit by adding like the death sound effect, maybe even get them animated as well. We'll also start looking at getting their AI going, so we'll basically be making a real start on our gameplay loop. And with that said, I will see you then.